It's a random weekday morning. You're stopped at a red light on your way to work, half awake, coffee in hand. You glance to your left and see a brand new full-size pickup truck sitting next to you. It's spotless. Not a scratch, not a speck of dirt. The wheels are massive. The headlights look like something off a spaceship. The sticker price on that thing, if you checked, would probably land somewhere between "that's insane" and "that's more than my house." And here's the part that messes with your head. The person driving it doesn't look like a CEO. They're not wearing a suit. They don't look rich. They look like everyone else. Maybe they're wearing a work shirt. Maybe they're scrolling their phone at the light. Maybe they live 3 streets over from you. So the question hits you without warning. How is this possible? How are regular people driving vehicles that cost $50, $60, even $70,000 while also complaining about gas prices, groceries, and rent? How are they making payments that on paper should crush their budget? I spend an unhealthy amount of time thinking about this exact question. Not because I care about trucks, but because this one decision has quietly become one of the biggest financial traps people fall into without realizing it. And if you've ever wondered how so many people are pulling this off, or why it feels like everyone else is living better than they should be able to, this explanation matters more than you think. Because the truth is, most of these people are not affording these vehicles in the way we were taught that word means. What most people don't realize is that this one decision doesn't hurt them today. It hurts them 10 years from now. Let's start by talking about how strange this situation actually is when you zoom out. A little over 10 years ago, a $400 monthly car payment was considered high. People complained about it. Financial advice columns warned against it. Anything above $500 was seen as reckless, unless you had a very high income. Fast forward to today, and the average new car payment in the United States is now over $700 a month. That's the average. Not luxury cars, not sports cars, regular cars purchased by regular people. When you narrow it down to trucks and SUVs, which now dominate the market, those payments often land between $850 and $1,200 per month. And yes, those numbers are real. People sign contracts agreeing to send more than $1,000 every month to a lender just to keep their vehicle. That's more than many people pay for rent. More than some mortgages, and they're doing it for 6, 7, sometimes 8 years. So naturally, the next thought is, well, incomes must have gone way up. They haven't. Wages have increased, but nowhere close to the pace of vehicle prices or loan sizes. For most households, income growth has been slow, uneven, and often eaten up by housing, food, insurance, and health care costs. Which brings us to the real question. If people aren't earning dramatically more money, how are they signing up for dramatically larger car payments? The answer isn't one thing. It's a combination of changes that all push in the same direction, quietly lowering resistance until something that used to feel insane now feels normal. The first piece of the puzzle is loan length. Car loans used to be short. 3 years was standard. 4 years was a stretch. 5 years felt risky. Now, 6- and 7-year loans are common. 8-year loans are no longer rare. Some lenders even offer 9- or 10-year terms, which is hard to believe until you see the paperwork. The reason people accept these terms is simple. The monthly payment drops. A $60,000 vehicle over 4 years might demand a payment that feels impossible. Spread that same amount over 8 years, and suddenly it looks doable. Not comfortable, but doable. And that's all most people are looking for in the dealership. They're not asking, is this smart? They're asking, can I make this payment? Dealers know this. That's why nearly every conversation centers around the monthly number. Not the total cost, not the interest paid, not what the vehicle will be worth when the loan is halfway done. Just the payment. And once the payment looks manageable, the decision feels justified. What almost no one stops to calculate is how much extra they're paying by stretching the loan. Those extra years don't come free. They add thousands, sometimes tens of thousands, to the total cost. And worse, they lock the buyer into a situation where they're paying for a vehicle long after its value has dropped. Depreciation doesn't care how long your loan is. Vehicles lose value quickly, especially in the first few years. With long loan terms, it's common for people to owe more than the vehicle is worth for most of the loan. This is called negative equity, and it's one of the biggest reasons people feel trapped. They can't sell the car. They can't trade it in without rolling debt forward. They're stuck, which leads directly to the next part of the system, trade-ins. Here's how it usually plays out. Someone buys a vehicle with a long loan. 3 or 4 years later, they're bored of it, tired of repairs, or tempted by something newer. But they still owe more than the car is worth. Instead of writing a check to cover the difference, they roll that leftover balance into a new loan. The dealer happily agrees. The new vehicle gets more expensive. The loan gets bigger. The term resets. Now they're paying for 2 cars but only driving one. This cycle can repeat multiple times. Each time, the payment stays roughly the same, but the total debt grows. From the outside, it looks like constant upgrades. On the inside, it's a financial treadmill that never slows down, and the longer someone stays on it, the harder it is to step off. Another major factor is interest structure and promotions. You've seen the ads. 0% financing, no interest for qualified buyers. Sounds like a great deal. What those ads don't explain clearly is that the cost is still there. It's built into the price of the vehicle. Buyers often give up rebates or discounts to get those rates, and many people don't qualify anyway, especially with longer terms. For everyone else, interest adds up quietly over time. A few percentage points stretched across 7 or 8 years turns into a huge amount of money, but it's hidden behind that single monthly figure everyone fixates on. Then there's the psychological side, which might be the most powerful part of all. Cars are no longer treated as tools. They're treated as statements. What you drive is assumed to say something about who you are, your success, your effort, your place in the world. This idea didn't appear on its own. It was taught, slowly, through advertising, social pressure, and repetition. Commercials don't show reliable transportation. They show confidence, strength, freedom, and status. They don't sell engines and tires. They sell identity. So when someone considers buying a cheaper vehicle, it doesn't feel like a financial choice. It feels like a personal downgrade, like admitting something uncomfortable. This makes logical conversations almost impossible. Suggest a used sedan to someone paying $1,000 a month for a truck, and they don't hear math. They hear judgment. Now let's talk about what actually happens inside household budgets once these payments are locked in. Because even with all of this, a $900 or $1,200 payment doesn't magically fit. Something has to give. What usually gives is everything else. People reorganize their lives around the vehicle. Housing choices change, vacations disappear, eating out stops, savings slow or vanish, retirement contributions get paused, emergency funds never form. Some people take second jobs just to support the payment. Others use credit cards to cover repairs, insurance, and fuel so they can keep sending that monthly check. And yes, some even dip into retirement accounts, borrowing from their future to support a present decision that will age badly. The car becomes the priority, even though it's losing value every day. Things get even heavier when households carry more than one payment. It's not unusual to see 2 or 3 vehicles financed at the same time. A truck, an SUV, maybe another car for a teenager. Each one with insurance, each one with maintenance, each one depreciating. Managing all of that becomes a full-time mental task. Due dates, coverage limits, repairs, renewals. And instead of questioning whether this setup makes sense, people focus on surviving it. Paying one loan off feels like a win, even if another replaces it immediately. Insurance alone adds a layer most people underestimate. Newer, expensive vehicles require full coverage. Premiums climb fast. Add multiple vehicles, and monthly insurance bills can rival utility payments. That's thousands every year just to legally drive something that's losing value. Maintenance adds more pressure. Modern vehicles are complex. Repairs aren't cheap. brakes, transmissions, engines, electronics. One major issue can wipe out months of savings. And many people don't have savings because the payment already took that space. Fuel costs finish the picture. Large vehicles drink gas. When prices rise, the monthly hit is real. Hundreds more, quietly leaving the budget. Now let's run a clean example. Take a $55,000 truck, 7-year loan, moderate interest, payment around $800. Over 7 years, the loan alone costs roughly $67,000. Add insurance at $250 per month. That's another $21,000. Fuel at $350 per month adds nearly $30,000. Maintenance and repairs easily reach $15,000 or more. Total cost over 7 years? Well over $130,000. And what's left at the end? A vehicle may be worth $15,000. That gap is the cost of the decision. Now compare that to taking the same payment and investing it instead. Over time, the difference is staggering. One choice drains future options, the other builds them. But breaking away from the cycle is hard because it doesn't feel like math. It feels emotional. People defend these decisions fiercely, not because they make sense, but because admitting they don't would hurt. And that's the final piece. This system works because it's accepted, because it's common, because everyone else seems to be doing it. But common doesn't mean healthy. So the next time you see a vehicle that costs more than you thought possible, remember this. It probably isn't freedom. It probably isn't wealth. It's likely a long commitment dressed up as success. And that older paid-off car sitting in your driveway might be doing more for your future than you realize. What makes this even more dangerous is that none of this shows up right away. There's no warning light that turns on when a payment quietly reshapes your future. Month to month, it feels manageable. You make the payment. Life goes on. And because nothing explodes immediately, the choice feels safe. But the real cost shows up years later. It shows up when an unexpected expense hits and there's nothing set aside. It shows up when a job situation changes and that payment doesn't. It shows up when someone realizes they've spent a decade working hard but haven't moved forward financially in any real way. And by then, the pattern is hard to break, because once someone gets used to a certain level of vehicle, stepping down feels worse than staying stuck. A cheaper car feels like failure, even if it would actually create breathing room. Pride fills the gap where logic should be. This is why so many people feel like they're always behind, even when they're doing everything right. They're working, they're paying bills, they're not wasting money recklessly. But one oversized commitment keeps draining the margin out of their life. And the margin is where freedom lives. Margin is what lets you say no to bad situations. It's what lets you handle surprises without panic. It's what turns a small setback into a minor inconvenience instead of a crisis. A large car payment kills margin quietly. What's interesting is that people who opt out of this cycle often look boring from the outside. Older car, few features, no attention, but their lives feel different behind the scenes. Less stress, more options, more control. They don't need to defend their choices, because their finances do that for them. This isn't about never enjoying vehicles or pretending money shouldn't be used for comfort. It's about understanding trade-offs clearly instead of letting them hide behind a monthly number. A vehicle should serve your life, not run it. And if you're already deep into one of these loans, this isn't about guilt. It's about awareness. Awareness creates better decisions next time. It creates pause. It creates questions before signatures. The goal isn't perfection. It's progress. Because the most powerful financial move isn't buying something impressive. It's building a life that doesn't need constant upgrades to feel okay. So the next time you're at that red light, looking at a vehicle that seems out of reach, remember this story. Remember what's visible and what isn't. Remember that appearances rarely tell the full truth. And if this breakdown helped you see things differently, do me a favor. Hit the like button so more people see it. Subscribe if you want more clear, real-world explanations like this. And drop a comment below. What's the biggest car payment you've ever seen or one you've had to think twice about? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.